Hi there, I'm Donna Wolfe from Naztazia.com. In today's video, I'll show you how to crochet an ice cream cone stitch pattern. It's cute to use as just a border edging as well as for an entire crochet piece. To do this, you'll start with a chain 24 or any multiple of 3. For the first row, we'll skip the first chain and make a single crochet in each chain across. At the end, in this sample, you'll have 23 single crochet stitches. It's important to remember this single crochet stitch number when we do each set of ice cream cones. You'll make 5 rows of these single crochet stitches. Moving on to the cone part of the ice cream, I'm placing a slip knot on my hook with the brown yarn, and I'm not turning my work. So go in the same direction as your last single crochet row and place a single crochet in the very first stitch. Now we're going to work 3 rows below for the next section to form the point part of the cone. You can kind of see where these middle horizontal lines form. We'll use those as guides. We're going to count over 3 stitches. And in that third stitch, we're going to make 3 elongated double crochet stitches in them. These are made pretty much like a regular double crochet stitch. However, you'll want to draw up your initial loop nice and tall so that it's not too tight. If your loop is too tight, it will curl your work forward. And you can see how I'm working on my third elongated double crochet stitch, all made in that third stitch over from 3 rows below. Now we count over 3 more stitches from 3 rows below. And in that third stitch, we'll be placing 3 more elongated double crochet stitches. You can see how these stitches, using the brown yarn, form a nice pointed cone shape, very similar to a traditional ice cream cone. Continue following this pattern across the row. After your last cone, you'll place a single crochet stitch in the very last stitch of this row. You can see what everything looks like thus far. For the next section, we'll begin the ice cream part of the work. I'm placing a slip knot on my hook with the pink yarn, and this time I am turning my work so that I'm working in the opposite direction of my previous row. And I'll place a single crochet stitch in the very first stitch. Now going forward, if you recall, we made 3 double crochet stitches for the cone part. We're going to follow the pattern shown over these 3 stitches. Each of the 3 stitches of the cone will have a slip stitch in it, and then there will be a chain 2 separating them. You can see what it looks like. Moving on to the next cone, we'll start with a slip stitch in the first stitch, a chain 2, a slip stitch in the second stitch, a chain 2, and a slip stitch in the third stitch. You'll repeat this pattern for all of the cones on the previous row. This forms the bottom part of the ice cream that sits on top. For the very last stitch, we'll place a single crochet on the top of the previous single crochet stitch. You can see what this row looks like thus far. This next row forms the fullest part of the ice cream. We'll start with a chain 4 and turn our work. Where we place our stitches for this row will be in the top of the second brown double crochet stitch of the cone, but it's a little tricky to access it since we already have the previous pink row, sort of blocking the way. So we enter into the second chain stitch and bring it downwards so we hook just the top of the second brown stitch. In this stitch, we're going to do a 7 double crochet cluster. So we begin each of the 7 double crochet stitches, but we don't finish them. I'm working on double crochet stitch number 7 right now. I'll make a yarn over and draw through all of the loops on my hook, and then I'll make a chain 1 to hold everything in place. You can see what the first ice cream looks like thus far. Now I'll make a chain 2 to help separate the top of the ice cream cones. And I'm moving on to the next cone again. As always, accessing the top of the second brown stitch is a bit challenging, but if you remember to go into the second chain 2 stitch, then downwards, you'll be able to pick up the normal top 2 loops of the previous cone row, and make the 7 double crochet cluster stitch again to form the ice cream, and then do a chain 1 to hold everything in place. You can see what the second ice cream looks like thus far. Moving on, I'll make a chain 2 and then do the 7 double crochet cluster stitch again in the top of the second brown cone stitch. Once that ice cream part is completed, I'll make a chain 2 and move on to the next one. You'll continue this pattern across the row. At the end, we'll do something a bit different. After the last ice cream, make a chain 1 and then make a double crochet stitch in the last stitch. It's up to you if you prefer just to use this stitch pattern as a border edging for a blanket, scarf, shawl, and other items. Or you can create additional rows for a blanket. To create additional rows, I start my white yarn in the same direction as the ice cream row, and I place only 2 single crochet stitches in the first space. However, all other spaces will contain 3 single crochet stitches in them. And if you recall, we made 23 single crochet stitches on our very first row, so keep that in mind when making single crochet stitches for this row as well to keep the edges even. Even that last space will have 3 single crochet stitches in them. You can see what this looks like. Going forward, we're going to make a total of 5 single crochet rows using that white yarn like we did in the very beginning of this pattern. And we'll repeat the whole brown cone row and 2 pink ice cream rows. And that's it. That's how I crochet the ice cream cone stitch pattern.